How's everybody doing tonight? Welcome to TEXAN Tailgate. This is episode 39. We're just going to be kind of shooting the breeze tonight, just kind of recapping the week. Hope everybody has had a great week, by the way. And joining us tonight, got David Lee here. David, how you doing, man?
Pretty good, Robert. Appreciate you being here and inviting me in and having this nice, warm, cozy space for us all to sit around the fire and recap the week and check on each other.
Yeah, absolutely. And before we get started with tonight's show, I just want to, pay our respects to Steve Staggs, who recently, he got called home to, be with the Lord, and he was just a really awesome, great person to be around, and I know he had a tremendous impact on everybody that he, came into contact with, and the Fridays, right side up with Steve Staggs that Crypto Heartbeat was doing on a weekly basis was just incredible. And just want to express our condolences from Texan team to the Staggs family and everybody in that community that was, impacted during this time of loss. So,
Yep. Thank you, Steve. Condolences to the family and much love. Um, for all those fans of the Bright Side Up, if you want to help out the family, in Matt's Right Side Up description, there's a crypto wallet and other links where you can help the family out in this trying time.
yeah, absolutely. And getting on, let's go ahead and see who we got here tonight in chat. Godfather J6, much love, y'all. I don't know if I'll be able to make it tonight. No worries, man. It's all good. Can't always make it all the time, but we appreciate it when you do. Got Facing Reality, X Force One, good evening, Texicans. Fallen Comrade, good evening, everyone. Facing Reality, there we go. Got Gunnerboat 37, good to see you, man. Oh, absolutely. That is just I love that screen name because it just makes me think of a gunner boat. Got Hexy Quinn. I'm sure later on we'll see some of the pink dinosaur monsters, which is like a signature trademark. But yeah, it's been a very eventful week. I'm not the type of person that watches TV or you know what's going on, but I mean, I know this is an election year, which to me, it's a year of shenanigans and many narratives, of basically. Hold on a second. There we go. So yeah, I hear that there's a lot of things going on in the state of Texas. There's always been issues going on with the border. It's always gotten political, and it's basically one side trying to push a narrative to prop up, themselves to make them, because it's all about votes and swaying the minds of the people, and saw some pretty crazy things from the current administration. Once again, trying to clamp down on the states and tell them basically this is what you can and cannot do, which is all the more reason to be a lot more bullish and be pushing for TEXIT because there's just a lot of times where the states need to run themselves, and what a current administration based on agendas and power grabs wants to do is not best for the people of that specific area. Like if you live there, David, what your issues are, what you're up against, what you need to do to fix it. And I've never been against immigration of any kind. It's just like, there's a process. You have to, if I wanted to go become a resident of another country, I got to follow the process because, some of these countries you try to sneak into, they will throw you in jail or kill you. We're pretty lenient when it comes to that. But what's your take on everything?
I got a couple more shout outs. I want to shout out the Florida mystery man, Mr. Ostel. He's a little under the weather. And I'd like to shout out all those Texas National Guardsmen and remind them of their fourth general order, that they will walk their post from flank to flank and not take shit from any rank. You're there doing your duty, and you're upholding the Constitution and the borders of this nation. The immigration policy in America has not made any sense in decades. We take in more legal immigrants than all the other countries combined. We take over 1 million a year. And now we've got this situation where the illegal immigration is actually being facilitated by the federal government and funded through NGOs that are doing the government's dirty work. This is an insidious, operation that is driven up. It's the number one cause of death, 18 to 45 is males. It's fentanyl. It's overdosing, and the second one is suicide. And I guarantee you that's directly related. See, they talk about the impact of immigration, but there's some things that they don't talk about. This is not like the 19th century immigration during the great turmoils of the mid 19th century in Europe, from famines and revolutions. These are people that are getting aided here to get here. It's not like you had to travel across the friggin' ocean, and when you got here, you had nothing except your own blood, sweat, and tears. And the direct impact that it's having is driving down the wages on the segment of our population that can least afford to have their wages driven down by an uneducated, low skilled workforce that is competing with them, and often in the black market where they're not paying taxes, and they are shipping a great percent of that money. They're not spending it here, they're sending it home. So I saw a recent study that calculated the impact, because they will always tell you, well, they pay taxes and they pay Social Security. Well, the numbers that they've gotten is they cost about 5 times as much as they input into the system. And when you have a social safety net, it is insane to think you can have an open tap into people coming into that system that is destroying school systems. They can't budget. Same thing with hospitals. That you can't budget for this kind of insanity. This is one of those things that erodes the very foundation of a nation and overloads the system. And considering we're going into debt about $1 billion a day, that's insane. We're to the place now where we're going to be spending more to service that debt than we spend to defend, the national defense, which is really, I guess we're defending like everyone else but us. Yeah, this has got me friggin' pissed, man. This is like insane. It's insidious. It's demographically changing the nation, economically changing the nation, and overloading the system to the point of collapse. And I'm sorry about the rant, Robert.
Oh, no worries. No, not at all. I mean, sometimes, we just kind of have to get it out and call it, how we see it. And, that's the thing is I was listening to some of Randy Hilarski's, talks about, because he lives in Panama, and I know that they do not have a military per se. They have a police force. But every time there's like a huge migration and caravan that comes up through the area, it's very disruptive and also destructive. Like they leave a lot of it. I guess it's like a lot of environmental damage. From what I've heard, and they're trying to find ways to stop it because they have to come up through that area. But it's like anything else. I mean, there's a process, and I don't always like the line when I have to go somewhere, but sometimes it just is what it is. But uh, but yeah, go ahead and see. We got Hex Glenn. Good to see you. Thank you so much for being here. Got Hexy Quinn. I'm locked out of the TEXAN Tailgate YouTube account, but as soon as I get back in, I have a bunch of band hammers to hand out. Wow. Well, do your thing. And so far, so good. Haven't seen too much, Everything is, going smooth. Thank you, everybody, for being here with us tonight.
Yes, thank y'all, legends. Yeah, when Randy was talking about them coming through, it's through an area called the Darien Gap, and it's where most of these, I don't know what you want to call them, convoys, they start. There's a YouTube channel out there. If anyone wants to check out what that journey is like, the YouTube channel is called Bald and Bankrupt, and this guy mostly does travel streaming, and he decided to make that journey. And him and a guy that he'd met, it's another travel vlogger from Greece, and it was really fascinating because they thought they were going to die. At one point, they made a pact with each other that if one of them becomes immobile, the other one has to go on alone. And the other one's just going to have to suffer and die because there's no help out there. You have to pay a toll with cartels, and you get a wristband and you start the journey. But then, they're traipsing through land that indigenous folks live in, and they're really pissed off about it. So they have turned it into a cottage industry to rape, kill, and pillage people on this journey. And yeah, they see every night. They said they heard rapes and screaming. They saw bodies, and they were terrified. And that our government is facilitating this is a crime. I would say it's outright treason. And the human cost, it blows my mind. These kids, they've lost over, the last number we got, and it's over a year old about now, is like over 85,000. They've just lost. And can't tell how many of them are end up in, as sex slaves and in sweatshops. And man, it is tragedy upon tragedy and heartbreak and suffering, for cheap labor and votes. That's really why the establishment is pulling this. There's no other reason why you would turn on this spigot and spend billions of dollars to make it, and then sue the state that it's pretty clear under Article 4, Section 4 of the Constitution, when the federal government is defending the borders, the states have the right to do it. The state goes to do it. They get sued by the administration and lose in court, which is just mind blowing. The court is a joke, the Supreme Court, and gives the feds the right to chop the wire. And Biden would be an idiot. Well, he is an idiot. He would be an insane idiot at this point, probably, to nationalize the Guard and to push this anymore, because it has gone viral with the level of awareness and citizens being pissed off that this is happening at a time when, a new illegal migrant is going to make more money monthly in support than a homeless vet. I mean, for real? Literally some of these cities that they've been pumping them to have booted out homeless Americans to house illegals. It's mind-boggling. I mean, who would ever imagine that this would be the reality? But it is.
Yeah. No, I mean, you're completely right. And Rags to Riches, fam, good to see you. Thank you for stopping in. X-Force 1. But yeah, David, to get back to add on to like what you're talking about, I mean, the narrative play has always been to allow for as many immigration to come into the country as possible, because that way you can, potentially flip states that have been red for the longest time to blue. And I stopped voting many years ago because I just, the more things change, the more they remain the same. For what our current system is, like, has any president ever demolished or gotten rid of the Federal Reserve, the fractional banking system that we are systematically tied to? Like, we have so many sub-agencies of the federal government, which it's like an octopus, and you look at all these different three-letter organizations, they're like just one of many tentacles. And oftentimes, what their purpose is and what they're supposed to do and what they're actually doing, it's like it's so far apart from what it is. So I mean, honestly, the fact that neither party, Republican or Democrat, will not agree or come to term limits, it's like you have people that can get in office as many times as people will keep electing them. And, you could have somebody in office for 2 years, 4 years. Let's say the job that they take pays $150,000, $200,000 a year, but they have 1 or 2 terms and they come out as a millionaire because, it's a place for them to lobby, and they make a lifelong career out of this. So usually around this time of the year, I hear a lot of rhetoric like, well, we'll pay your student loans off, we'll, wipe out your student debt, or we're going to take guns away, or we're going to, try to outlaw and ban abortion in all the states. So, I've come to a place where I really feel like the best path forward is going to be TEXIT. And it's going to be the Texas nationalist movement, spearheading that front, because anytime you can take back the power, you're much better off because you are personally responsible. And the reason why we centralize power as a collective is because we're lazy. We want somebody else to do it for us. And when we centralize power, we make someone else our master, and we enter into a master-slave master relationship. And then eventually the master is going to put their interest above yours, and you're going to find yourself in a place where it's like, I don't like where I'm at right now, but it's like, but you collectively consented and agreed to this. And now that we've gone way too far this way, now everybody's, nobody's happy with it. So I just don't have a faith in either a Republican Party or a Democrat Party, Libertarian. Like, I just want to get away from all of it. And I feel like the best place for that is going to be Texas. What's your thoughts on that? Do you think, what challenges are they facing right now? I know that they had over 139,000 signatures on the TEXIT petition, and I know that has been getting pushed back by the GOP out there.
Yeah, you hit on a lot of important points. Just real quick with the last part, the TNM is in the court fighting. The excuses that the Texas GOP party chair, Matt Rinaldi, a slime bag, establishment, crooked politician, gave to deny those petition signatures was ridiculous out right from the get-go. The deadline was on the 11th. They turned it in on the 11th. They said, well, that really means the 10th, so we can get them on the 11th. I mean, it was that ridiculous. Even though there's a state law that says electronic signatures are good to go, they're dismissing that. And what they're doing is playing a slow roll till they get to that print date, and then they can have another excuse. They can say, "Oh well, it's too late to print up the ballots now." I mean, these guys are slime. They will. And going back to your earlier in your thing with the Fed, it is a bear trap. The federal government can borrow from the Fed, and they can make promises for all kinds of social goodies to make people vote for these slime bags, not realizing that they only have to serve 2 terms and they get a lifetime retirement. Imagine that, Robert. Wouldn't it be sweet? You work for 4 years and get a lifetime retirement. Is that just fucking shit? Sorry, but yeah, crap. This is just that it's come this far from where it started, where it cost those guys, it cost them fortunes to serve, and now you serve to make fortunes.
No, absolutely. And was it Harry S. Truman that said you can't get rich in politics unless you're a crook?
Yes.
Okay, I got the right guy this time.
You did. You did very well. The buck stops there.
So, is it foreseeable? Do you think that we will see like a TEXIT option on the ballots?
We will. Maybe not this election system, but I believe in Daniel Miller, the TNM, and every volunteer that it works for it tirelessly and with one goal: to give Texans the basic right of self-determination. If you can't choose your own course, what are you, Robert?
You're a slave.
Yes, sir.
On a tax farm.
Yep.
A lot of times I think to myself, are we really free? Or are we all just on that very same tax farm because we're so easily distracted and our attention is farmed out, where we get into these stupid, pointless culture wars where we're at each other's throat, male versus female, left versus right, white versus black, gay versus straight. And the thing is we're not focused on, changing our situation for the better, which is the class war. Like, hey, enough of this dividing us over the dumbest things.
The bread and circuses are real.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So I hope that they can get it on the ballot, but I've seen a lot of suppression take place, and I foresee a lot of people. There you go. We want to vote. TEXITnow.org. That's an amazing shirt you got there.
It's the cover of a book that anyone that wants to have questions about TEXIT. This is the book cover from Daniel Miller's book, TEXIT. It's a fantastic shirt. It's one of them. I love it. I think it's freaking awesome looking. I'd like one with like maybe a Texan symbol right here or something, but it does have the TNM symbol there. It's pretty cool.
Oh yeah. So you're very, very well covered. But yeah, it's something that we're just gonna have to see how it plays out. I mean, I honestly did not expect this to be smooth and I knew that there was going to be a fight. Like anytime like you're trying to actually break away from the federal government and become your own independent nation, it's like part of the way it's like, how would I view this from their perspective? Like, well, if they're able to do it, what's to stop these other states from, so we gotta shut this thing down. Because it's also a huge loss of federal income tax, which, if you really think about it, the majority of taxes out there, I can't speak on this wholeheartedly, but I personally feel that the majority of them are illegal. There's just so many so much nonsense, so many opportunities we could be able to fix things and get things right if we just did not have that overreaching, federal oversight. And things may get better if there's a change in the current administration, but if we stay on the current course that we are, it's just going to be more of the same, because if Biden does get reelected, it's like at that point they don't have anything else really to lose, because they're not going to run again. So they're going to hit it as hard as they possibly can.
Mm-hmm. Texas sends between $100 and $150 billion more a year to DC than it receives back. Can you imagine, with the 8th largest economy in the world, that was free of the regulatory structure that constrains capital growth, and that capital and extra capital to invest in the state? I think Texas would just blow up to probably, I don't know, 4 or 5 on that list. And right now, the latest thing after that the Biden administration has done is they're pulling, liquid natural gas off the table for Texas. They're trying to now, wage an economic war against Texans. And the list of things that are being illuminated to the regular people of why you would want to be free is just growing. And the engagement we saw this week was crazy, wasn't it? Right? You look at the TNM, look at their posts on socials, and they've gone up, I don't know, 200x. It has been insane seeing, used to seeing hundreds of views to now seeing thousands of views is, in a lot of ways, it's heartening, because, the ideal of Texas, of a state seceding from the Union, has this historical precedent that's locked in our mind because of the first war between the states, that the federal government has the right and responsibility even to crush any state that wanted to leave the Union. And I can tell you completely 100% assured that those states that ratified the Constitution to join the Union would have never joined the Union if it was put to them in such a way that this is forever and unbreakable. Those people living at that time fought just a horrible, difficult 7-year war against the world's greatest military to achieve that sovereignty. And each state, right? We're not called provinces. We're called states for a reason. They recognized each other as sovereign states that were joining together really for just a few things. You look at the Constitution, there's not much authority that is actually delegated to the feds. National defense, interstate commerce, so we wouldn't have tariffs against each other. And that was about it. And up until the Civil War, that is really the way that we operated. It was at the Civil War that we had the birth of this federal bureaucracy that was willing to back it up at the end of a bayonet to get you to comply. And it's very difficult for people to not comply when they've been indoctrinated since birth to pledge allegiance. And you have this history, and you have victors write the history, and we're educated in those public schools. So we've been fed this narrative. It doesn't mean that narrative we've been fed is the truth, and it's not the truth. but it leads us to a place where people are having to re-examine their stance. What do we do going forward? And we know if we stay as it is going forward, we have corrupt politicians, we have corrupt elections. We're now talking about our great-grandchildren being in debt for their whole life and enslaved. And people are fed up, just fed up. You know, the lockdown 2020 was a glimpse behind the curtain of the real shit show that this actually is and what they're willing to do. Right? They'll lock you up. They'll try to force you to take an experimental jab. They will spend trillions of dollars to pacify you. I mean, it's bad, man.
Yeah, no doubt. And, you know, I really feel like, you know, something like that, I don't foresee it happening again in our lifetimes, at least, because it did wake up a lot of people. And that was a position that they were not going to be able to hold on to forever, because once people start waking up and the collectives start getting organized and they're angry and they start pointing their spears at, you know, your local, state, and federal governments. Because, I mean, if you think about it, they shut courthouses down during COVID for a reason. And I'll go ahead and say it. And if they take this channel down or this episode, I really don't care. But the things that they were doing was unconstitutional. It was illegal. Mandates and, you know, ordinances, they're not laws. Like, you have to go through the legislative process to create new laws. They have to be voted on. So when you had people that were looking to, you know, take their cases to the courts, they're like, oh no, we got an emergency. We can't hold court cases here. So, but you know, you look at how big businesses thrived, small businesses, you know, basically they went out of business because, you know, as Brandon has always said, the government will pick and choose winners and losers.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a transfer of wealth. It's a value extraction model, and it's about, I really feel like, you know, people who have money beyond their wildest dreams, they have everything they could ever possibly want. It's about the power, and it's about preserving their legacies and shaping the world so that, you know, themselves and their family and, you know, will benefit. And it's all about preserving the status quo. So I honestly feel like if the C-19 COVID, if it had never started to, you know, unravel, and they would have held that position, you would have had civil unrest. You would have had people that would have just said, no, we're not doing this anymore. And whenever there is risk, there must be choice. So, you know, when it comes to, you know, our healthcare decisions, our medications, what we put into our bodies, whether it's, you know, a bottle of pills or, you know, a jab, we need to know what that is, what the side effects are, and we need to, you know, have a choice in the matter. And I find it very disgusting how, you know, organizations like OSHA, like, let's try to find a backdoor way to force people to get this. Otherwise, they can't work and they can't have their job. And it's like, that's not what y'all were created for. And that got thrown out in federal court, which I'm like, this is not going to make it to the Supreme Court, not for something like this.
No, it comes, I guess, right back to that kind of like the shout out to the guardsmen in the Fourth General Order, right?
Mm-hmm.
The idea of, you know, not taking shit from any rank is about them giving you an unlawful order. And for a citizen, that would be like an unconstitutional order, which basically means don't comply. If we wouldn't have, if people would have stood their ground and not complied, they would have found out how powerless they are to pass all the, whatever regulation you want.
Mm-hmm.
And it's super duper important that people remember that. And, it's like in Texan, we're not looking for sheep. We're gathering lions. We're gathering lions for freedom and for their own rights that have been, I mean, you can go through the Bill of Rights, right? And you can just kick them off how they've either just spit on them, walked all over them, ignored them, and there's really no other choice. If you want to pass on a nation to your ancestors, to your offspring that is better, you're going to have to sacrifice. You're going to have to organize. You're going to have to not comply. You're going to have to wake up. You're going to have to educate yourself. You're going to have to draw a line in the sand. Find those lions, that pack, that pride, and start working for it. Because otherwise, the sheep, they're slaves. They don't know it. They're just in the pen until it's time to be slaughtered.
Oh yeah, absolutely, and that's the thing is, the states were meant to run themselves, and I understand that, as long as you are taking, federal income tax money, there has to be checks and balances, but for the most part, the states are supposed to run themselves. And I had a really great mentor many years ago that just told me, Robert, once every 10 years, you got to take the government back. You got to, you got to take them back. Otherwise, they're just going to, become so big and so powerful to where the lines between right and wrong, Bill of Rights, Constitution, that's going to get blurry real fast. So it's just one of these things where I haven't seen a whole lot change over the years. I see a Democrat administration take over, I see a Republican administration take over, and it's more of the same thing. And I don't feel that we're going to find freedom and self-sovereignty and determination, by continuing to, go round and round with the same old systems. So I really feel like we've been going round in circles for many, many years. We're not getting the results that we're looking for. Things are getting worse. So it's like, let's try something different. Let's take a look at Texas independence and what that means. And that's what makes Texan Token so unique is, we're the only crypto project out there, with a mission to support this political organization. Like, we are literally tied to the outcome of, supporting the people of Texas to help them decide, like, hey, do we want to have an administration that's, I don't know, how many thousands of miles is DC away from Texas? It's almost the same.
About 2,500, probably. Oh, yeah, a good bit. Yeah. Well, depending on what part of Texas, right? Texas is so big. If you're talking El Paso, it's a lot further than it is if it's Houston.
Yeah, it just I keep thinking of that concept, taxation without representation, and it's like, but that's the thing, is that's the human nature of people, is if you're not going to do what I want you to do, we're going to pick and choose winners and losers. And you'd mentioned earlier about the federal government wanting to be a little stingent when it comes to, what was it, natural gas?
Yeah, liquid natural gas out of Texas.
So you start restricting and making it difficult and waging a economic war. Then basically what you're doing is you're literally trying to force them to become dependent on you. Because think of all the people who, collect rainwater, try to live off the grid, and they try to tell you that it's illegal, you can't do this. And it's like, what gives people in this life power is when you need something or depend on something from someone else. And if you don't need anything from someone else and you're fully sustainable and sufficient, then, you know, that's the best form of freedom that I can possibly think of, is not needing anything from anyone.
Mm-hmm.
But
You know, it's a great point, Robert. I mean, and anyone that is kind of like wishy-washy about this or not sure, they should ask themselves, can you trust a government to preserve your liberty that is willing to lock you up and regulate you collecting rainwater?
mm-hmm.
Right? It's insane. It's laughable. I mean, I hate to laugh,
or you
but it
need
is that friggin' crazy.
or you need a license for this, a license for that, and
Mm-hmm.
that's one of the reasons why I resonate a lot with the no permissions community, with Randy Hilarski and all the fine folks over there, because it's real simple. Their motto is nope, not asking for permissions. So, oh my goodness, we got Raffoon. What is life without freedom? I support TEXIT because Ron Exit isn't an available option. So,
Not yet.
yeah,
Mr. Raffoon, you're I know you're going to exit someday, and hopefully I'm there beside you. When it's time to go, it's time to go. And if this keeps going this way, if we fail in our endeavor, the prospects for liberty, gentlemen and ladies, are very gone.
mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. And one of the things I was going to ask you, David, is when is the election time in Texas? Is it in
March.
March? And is that for their primaries for the state?
It's primaries.
Okay. And at this point, it's kind of, we don't know if the option for Texas is going to be on the ballot. It's up in the air right now, correct?
It is. I know they're under a lot more pressure this week than they were last week. We will see. And yeah, I've laid a few frying pans up against that GOP chair's head. He hasn't blocked me yet. I'm wondering what do I got to do to get blocked by him?
Probably just repetition, probably just consistency. And these people have handlers that run their social media accounts, so I don't doubt for a second that that's the real person making the post. But hey, I could be wrong. But no, so they're facing an uphill battle, and the one positive takeaway you can look at in this situation is the senators that you elected in that state, or the people of Texas. You're getting to see who they really are and what they really stand for, and they are protecting the establishment. They are protecting their own interests, and they want to remain part of the system, and they want to keep all of us. I'm not in the state of Texas, but it's basically, they are putting up roadblocks. So the people will have an opportunity. If Texas is not on the ballot, they will have an opportunity to vote some of these people out. And honestly, that's probably going to be the best route you can take in that situation. But times like these do tell you where people stand, and that's good to know. So
It shows how invested in the status quo they are, and that should tell anyone everything that they need to know.
oh yeah, no, for sure. And it's we'll see what happens, but I know that this year, as we get further along, we've got so many things going on. We take a look at crypto and DeFi as a whole. We're seeing lots of mini pumps. We're seeing lots of great indicators of where things are going to head. Obviously, when we have the Bitcoin halving, I believe in April, it's going to reach its all-time high. People are going to make their money there. Then they're going to take money and put it into alts, because there's still a lot more pumps to happen in the alts. And as we get further along, we're going to see the same 4-year nonsense where, oh wait, we see each other every day at the grocery store, at the ball game, at the church, but now it's that time of the year where we have to hate each other because it's left versus right. Mm-hmm. And it's the same old shenanigans. And personally, I'm better off not consuming it or watching it. Like, I have an idea of what's going on, but I don't need to consume it on a daily basis. It's probably better for my mental health that I don't. But I do, support TEXIT, and I do want to see the people have the opportunity to, if that's what they want to do, then go for it. And it's legal means. It's all legislative. There's, they're not looking to, use any kind of force or violence, or it's all, they want to operate by the Constitution. And anytime you have something like that, that's great, because most people don't want to do that. If you take a look at history, that usually doesn't happen. It's usually whichever side is the victor. Kill your enemies, take the gold, rewrite things in your favor.
I'm glad you brought up the flip side of things, because we talked about the giant shit show, right? Mm-hmm. On the other side, the positives are building to be as great for our community, and it shows what happens when you come together and work for a purpose or a cause with a purpose. And we've had lots of good news in Texas. And shout out to Mr. Raffoon there. He's a TNM member. He's stepping up. He's going to be leading the charge on the crypto enthusiast Facebook affinity group of the TNM to help rally those troops and help them. And we had the Internet Money Wallet collaboration with the TEXAN token to buy and burn TEXAN, which is going to be like earth shifting over time as the adoption of the Internet Money Wallet progresses, which is dedicated to individual privacy, like no other wallet is. So shout out to them guys for making the stand for those freedoms and doing the work and walking the walk, not just talking the talk. They didn't have to come work with us.
No.
But they did, and they changed the game. And anyone that listened to Brandon's last couple streams, he touches on some of the things that's happening in the ecosystem and the positives. We've seen more traffic across all of our social medias, and the charts have looked pretty good.
Oh, absolutely. And David, real quick, do you remember how much of the TEXAN token is actually getting burned with this collaboration with Internet Money?
Well, when you stake time token inside the buy and burn function in the D app, it's proportional to the amount of time that is out there for. Because time, what's really cool, if people don't know this, holding the time token, the native token of the Internet Money Wallet, you earn a 0.7, I think I heard Brandon say 0.72 fee on transaction that goes into PLS. It goes to the holders of the time token. So when you take that time token and stake it, that 0.72 is now taking that PLS and buying TEXAN. If you stake it into the TEXAN buy and burn, it'll take those fees that are earned from in wallet swapping and buy and burn TEXAN. It's like,
right.
It's just amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you, KG and Don Montoya and Matt and Brandon for coming together, working together, and putting the community token, all first. Because this isn't enriching any of them, it is enriching us.
Absolutely.
That's amazing.
Absolutely. And just going over a few quick numbers, looks like the total deposited time amount is 1.767 million. And so far, looks like 630,766 Texan has already been burned. So that is just amazing. And
those will increase because the time token is deflationary too. It is being burnt all the time as well. So you've got a number of mechanisms that are going to be ratcheting both of those things up over time.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're not using the internet money wallet and you support Texan, go download that wallet, get yourself some time, and stake it in the Texan buy and burn, and you are helping everyone and yourself. It's beautiful, perfect game theory.
Absolutely. And yeah, they've got it for Apple, Android, and Chrome. So one of the great things about the Internet Money Wallet app is they do not collect any of your personal data. They do not track you. I mean, they follow, the true Richard Hart tenets of DeFi, which is what we're looking for. And while we're here, just wanted to go ahead and give a shout out, PulseChainTour.com. There is going to be a Texan tour. It is going to be on Saturday, February 17th in Houston, Texas, when Real Estate Meets Crypto Seminar. Organizers, RG3. We got Wild SJ. We got Black Hexagon. They are the organizers and sponsors that will just drive all over the country, trying to educate people about, PulseChain, DeFi, and just give people, access to information that they may not have been aware of. And they are just doing an absolute phenomenal job. So thank you so much. And
shout out to Danny the singer, who's going to be representing Texan there, and shout out to Moondog, who is going to be speaking there as well. When crypto meets real estate, and I think I saw Crypto Compassion is going to be there as well, and there's going to be some others. I mean, I would love to be at that one because it's such a it covers a number of investment opportunities that would be wonderful to be educated about, and to see these real world assets starting to be moved over onto the blockchain, where we can cut those parasitic middlemen. And like with wallets, and we were talking, we see these huge establishment global financiers getting their claws into things like MetaMask. What's it, JP Morgan that owns them or something like that, Robert? I mean, it's good to see these things.
Yeah, that's always been the what I've heard from a lot of people, and that they are the ones that created that wallet, or had a company create, most likely paid a company to create it for them. But we've seen over time just how quickly things that we once thought were decentralized are very centralized, and they're taking steps in a very backwards direction. So whenever we see stuff like that, it's like, okay, who do we know of in the community that's putting in some really great work to make sure that we're in a much better place. And also on Twitter or X, go ahead and follow PulseChain Tour, where you can also keep up with where they're going, where they're going to be, and just anything you can do to support these people. Captain RG3, Wild SJ, Black Hexagon. So thank you so much for all that you do. And
while the country's trend line looks bad, everyone, the work that we all do, supporting each other, supporting these projects, Our trend line is not looking like the country's. Our trend line is going the other way, and it's because of you guys together in community, sticking together and fighting the good fight, being out there doing good works. If y'all hadn't seen, um, speaking of good works, go to the Ophir Telegram, look in their media, look what they're doing on the ground. They are changing lives. So that is, shout out to them, all of them that is doing that work, and Firestarter and Doc Vince and Josh and Apple and Chi and Marcus. You guys are just kicking it, and you're doing it for the right reasons, and you're helping make the world a better place.
Oh, absolutely. And, I mean, they are just some of the most passionate, caring, genuine, loving people I've ever gotten to work with and interact with. And I mean, when it comes to, networking and adoption, they have it down. I mean, they are just phenomenal when it comes to social media. And just shout out to the Ophir team. Absolutely phenomenal job. And also shout out to Hexy Quinn. I know she does a lot of, graphics and promotions, and she puts a lot of great things together. This is just a link tree for Texan tokens. So all the official links on where to find, Texan.cc, Telegram, Twitter.
Texan team was crushing it this week. Crushing it.
Oh, absolutely. So, but yeah, no, it's there's so many great things going on right now. So it's sometimes it feels like there's just a lot to keep up with, but we're still kind of in that transition phase where we're going into a bull run. We're not like off yet, but it's heating up, and I take a look at the lunar cycles, and it's like, okay, we're having a little bit of a pump. And some of my personal thoughts, which I honestly think some of these pumps that are happening are happening at the right time for the right reasons. And I've just been following Richard's case, which we don't know if that's going to, get dismissed. I hope that it does. I don't really feel like they have much ground to stand on. But we'll see what happens. But I know that if they don't have a case, that the SEC will want to drag it out as long as possible to hurt price, hurt the ecosystem, and still maintain some level of influence over that, because it's just going to be another loss on their records. So, and I mean, that's the thing is, you have to act in accordance with what your organization, what you were created to do in the first place. And the problem is we got people that are basically running wild, and they're bending the rules to serve their own interest. And really what they're doing is they're just looking to protect the big banks and the legacy system, because if they controlled the market, they wouldn't be in such a panic mode like, well, we got to shut crypto down, Jamie Dimon. And it's like, you don't want there to be competition. That's why you want to shut it down. But at the end of the day, the free market, has to reign supreme. We have to be able to, interact with one another. We have to be able to exercise the freedom of speech. We have to be able to transact. We have to have freedom of movement. And I think the worst thing I've ever seen in my short time being here alive is when one person tries to control another person. It never works out. That's where you get all this anger, this, resentment, and eventually over time that turns into hatred. And then that turns into suffering. And then, it's at that point, it's like you no longer have civil discourse. So we were not meant to be confined, caged, or kept down, like we're all equal, men, women, like, we all put on our pants the same way. You know, we're all going to die one day. So, you know, but
Yeah. So I would urge people to remember, try to focus on the world that you want to live in, not the world that we currently live in, nor the world as the establishment narrative tries to make you believe that you do live in.
yeah, no, absolutely well said. And Raffoon here, yep, marriage is tough. Speaking of one person trying to control the other, you know, so yeah, sometimes that can be a bit of a challenge, but you know, we get further together than we do on our own. And you know,
Never go to bed angry.
no, because then you can
Old
just
man Dave's advice to newlyweds: don't go to bed angry. Settle it. Go to bed and cuddle.
yeah, that's really, yeah, because you're just gonna wake up angry and you're just gonna prolong it. So, but no, I mean, thank you so much for being here, David. I appreciate your insights, and I know sometimes, you know, it's just good to kind of have these discussions because me and you, we probably talk more about crypto a lot of times, and we get on some other subjects: life, philosophy, history, psychology, politics. I you know, for many years, I used to toe that, you know, right wing party line for a long time, and then I think somewhere in my 20s, I went Democratic, and then I libertarian, and then I finally just was like, you know what, I can't fully support any of these parties because I don't agree with everything they say and do, and I can't be that guy that's going to toe the line because at some point it's like what you're saying and what you're doing is not right, and it just doesn't coincide with, you know, this life is all about trying to find a balance, and we either go too far one way or too far the other way, and you know, so I just try to live my life in accordance with natural law, which is thou shalt not take. Do what you want as long as you're not, you know, harming somebody else or affecting someone else negatively, and just, you know, live your life in accordance. You know, the Ten Commandments is a great set of guidelines, and it's very simple and straightforward.
Mm-hmm.
Don't lie,
Yeah.
don't kill, don't steal. You know, it's
Don't
like,
covet.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So it's
You
like,
know, good for you, Robert, for not accepting the labels that they want us to accept as our own.
oh, absolutely. And, you know, at the end of the day, you know, we have to become our own government. We have to become our own sovereign individuals. Government means to govern the mind. So the biggest misconception that people have is they think that we need government. And it's like, well, is it oxygen? No. You can live without it. Are you not capable of governing your own mind? Are you not capable of, like, this is just my personal opinion, but I feel like a lot of us, you know, I feel like we could live out the rest of our days and be just fine. Now, yes, you're still going to have crime. You're still going to have people that do things that they're not supposed to do. And people will form communities, and they will, you know, have a hierarchy structure to have laws in place to, you know, protect people. But, you know, I just, I don't know. It's like, what do I need from them? I have
You don't
everything.
need a stack of paper taller than me telling you what to do.
No, I have everything I need, and I can do just fine.
Yeah, you could put it on one sheet and everyone will be good.
Oh yeah, yeah. So I don't really mix it up in politics, but you know, sometimes these conversations are just good to have because that's just where everybody kind of looks outward to for guidance when we should be looking inward. But you know, That's pretty much all I've got to say about that. But do you have anything you want to say before we wrap up?
Man, I enjoyed it thoroughly. Appreciate you, Robert. That's
Yeah,
all. Love
yeah,
y'all.
yeah. Love you too, David. Thank you so much for being here, and we will be back next Sunday. Just everybody, just stay safe. Do things that fulfill you, and try not to absorb too much or consume too much of the nonsense that happens. Just focus on the good, positive things and what you're going to do for you, your friends, your family. So, all righty. Well, we will catch you next Sunday at 9
Yeah,
p.m. Have a good one. Good
you
night,
too.
everybody.
Good night.